My name is Benton Stokes. I'm a former fundamentalist, post-evangelical worship leader, and songwriter. I enjoy wry Manhattans, roller coasters, and road trips, just not all at the same time.
I'm Elaine O'Rourke, and I'm a teacher, an author, and a spiritual coach. I was a philosophy professor and a liberal pastor in a couple of former lives, and these days I love aha moments and not-so-dry martinis.
We have conversations about life and God with a queer perspective, over cocktails, like you. This is Cocktail Theology. Today we are enjoying daiquiris. Now, we've had daiquiris on the podcast before.
We have.
But this is a flavor I don't think we've had on the podcast. I'm
don't
not even sure it's a flavor we've ever had at home.
I have not had one before.
Oh, that's yummy.
Oh, that's really yummy.
Okay, so this is a guava daiquiri. Used Malahat spiced rum, which Malahat is a California distillery. Mm-hmm. I haven't thought of using this rum in a springtime drink. I always think of it as like the buttered rum and the holiday drinks and things like that. But it's really tasty in this drink.
It is. It is. Yeah, you know, daiquiris are usually white rum.
Yeah.
Which we almost never have.
Right. But it's nice because it's almost like it gives it's the built-in tiki thing, right?
Yeah.
Without having to add allspice dram or velvet rum or something to create that. It's already kind of there.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, and I don't know which spices they've got in it, but it's probably allspice, probably nutmeg, whatever. But yeah, I like it. It's good. And it goes with the guava.
It does go with the guava. It's surprising how
I really
well
like it. It is not as sweet as I was afraid it might be. Mm-hmm. Because... you know me. I like a sweet drink, but I want to know it's a sweet drink
right
before I drink it.
Right. For sure.
So today we're talking about
acts of God.
Oh.
Oh. So
when I hear the phrase act of God, I always think of those very self-assured, self-sufficient, self-dependent preacher types who, had God not granted them grace, would have had like sidewalk things and been standing out screeching at people. Instead, they've got audiences. Yes. I always think of those guys when there's a hurricane and they say, inevitably, that the hurricane is an act of God upon the lawlessness of a particular set of people, wherever the hurricane landed, right? And it's always the gays, the women's libbers. Usually there's a libbers in there somewhere.
Right.
Those slaves we shouldn't have freed to begin with.
Yes.
But that's how I tend to think of act of God, is the person interpreting it to be against people they hate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so as a result, when you say act of God, I admit that like I might twitch just a little bit because I think that phrase is really easy to apply to people, to activities that one does not like. The problem with my interpretation that way and my feelings about it is that God acts all the time.
Yep.
So let me take off my fear, my nervousness, my, that's not how hurricanes work-ness, and ask you what you mean by acts of God and why are we talking about this today?
I have found myself lately praying for God to act in some demonstrative way because of the mess our world is in. And it's caused me to think, well, what are the ways that God is acting?
Petulantly. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
How is
God is acting out.
He's acting out. Well,
all right. So
wouldn't be the first time.
No, it would not. It would not.
So it's just got me thinking, like, what actually is an act of God?
Right.
And are they happening all the time and we're missing it?
Right.
I don't think it has to be a hurricane or typhoon or, an earthquake. I don't think God has to be that guy.
A pissy Mother Nature.
Yes, right.
Mother Nature on a bender.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
So some of it is, what I'm thinking about is maybe I should be more watchful for the ways that God works in the world and works around me, you know. It's like when I am on a walk, and if I'm going somewhere, I don't notice anything.
Right.
But if I'm just going for a walk, I notice all kinds of things.
Right. Right.
You know?
Right.
And I wonder if, you know, most of my life I spend going someplace so that I don't notice everything that's going on around me because I'm too intent on going to the place and doing the thing and being done with the thing so that I can then go to this place and do that thing. And I think a lot of us live that way.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of different kinds of acts of God. Okay, if I do my thing and just kind of tease them out. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so setting aside the force majeure thing, the hurricane that's sent for a purpose.
Right.
It sounds like you're also talking about the ongoing activity of God in the world.
Yes.
Rather than the big dramatic pyrotechnic kind of activity of God.
Yeah.
So when we were praying the other day, I know I mentioned something about that if God is acting in such a way that a plant is coming up through the cracks on the sidewalk, I don't want to miss it and I don't want to step on it, right?
Yes.
So it sounds like that's the kind of activity of God, not a plant on the sidewalk necessarily, but that kind of activity of God that you want to make sure you don't miss.
Right.
Okay. Those are the kinds that if you're focused on doing whatever it is you're doing, you're going to miss.
Right.
It doesn't matter whether it's the kind of thing that you're on your way to work and you're in a hurry and you miss it, or it's the kind of thing that you don't realize is God acting. Mm-hmm. Maybe it might be helpful to talk about what would count as an activity of God that we might notice. Like how would you know? Because I can imagine noticing all kinds of things, whatever, the zinnias we've got growing out here, right? And I could look at them and say, wow, great bulbs. Love this company. Gonna buy more of these bulbs. Or I could look at them and say, wow, those came up. That's an act of God. Is it a perspective issue?
Maybe.
Is it just a perspective issue? Or are we saying something specific about God?
I think when you're talking about nature, you know, God set all of this into motion. So God isn't making every flower grow. That's not something that God spends God's time doing, I don't think. But
you think God set up systems that are sufficient enough that God doesn't have to
yes,
okay.
Yes, okay. Right.
Okay.
You know, laws of nature, we talk about that.
Right.
God doesn't often break laws of nature or fly in the face of systems that God created at creation or that have evolved into what they are now.
Yeah.
It's not typical for God to do those kinds of things. If God were to do one of those things and you recognized it, you might be able to say, well, wow, that was an act of God. It's like my Aunt Frances, who I've talked about on this podcast before. She and my Uncle Breland, when they were young, they lived in a little house in Alabama, and a tornado came through, and it destroyed most of the house. But there was a shelf on the wall with a pitcher.
Okay.
Of like, and I don't know what was in the pitcher, but there was some liquid in the pitcher.
Like an urn of some kind. Yeah.
It was just sitting on a shelf. And afterwards, when they're going through the wreckage, it's sitting there undisturbed.
Huh.
Weird stuff like that. I mean, you hear those kinds of stories with tornadoes.
Right.
How it, destroys these two houses and hops over this one.
Sure.
And the people who live in the one that it hops over, they might say, well, God spared our house.
Right.
The tornado shouldn't have behaved that way,
Right.
So I don't know. I guess you could call those kinds of things acts of God. Some of it is just finding God's handiwork, like a desert bloom, like we saw in Arizona a couple years ago. When those things happen, there are explanations for it,
right?
And yet it's awe-inspiring, and it's just like it reminds you of the beauty in God's creation, I guess. So I think that's one kind of act of God.
Okay.
But then I do think you're right. When people say act of God, they generally mean like really big, scary events.
Yes.
And people, don't necessarily escape unscathed from these kinds of events, right?
Right.
Lately, as we've been praying for things to change in our country, I think we would appreciate seeing some big demonstrative act of God.
For sure.
To change all of the nastiness in our country.
For sure.
At the very, very top. What that would be, I don't know.
Well, what would... See, I think this is the challenge, right? There's the attitude of noticing God's handiwork. Mm-hmm. And the great thing about that is, as a spiritual discipline, it brings us closer to God because we are more conscious of God's participation in the world. Mm-hmm. So there's that one. There's the times when we notice a whisper. And the example that I use is, you're driving one way down a street, you see somebody who needs something out of the corner of your eye.
Right.
You don't quite actually register it, but something tells you should turn around. Mm-hmm. When you actually turn around, and then there is something there. Mm-hmm. I attribute that to being attuned to the Spirit's whisper. So that's a noticing of the activity of God, but it's not an act of God.
Right.
Right? It's that whisper. It's that, hey, you should pay attention to this.
Yeah.
Or, you're doing something else and you notice that a friend is not feeling up to par, right? Mm-hmm. And you're doing other stuff, but you notice it and it sticks with you, right?
Yeah.
That's the Spirit saying, pay attention, pay attention. But I will admit that in my prayer life lately, I wouldn't say I've been praying for really well targeted tornadoes because I haven't, and that's not who I am. Like, I would never do that. And like, I can only say it jokingly, like it would never occur to me to actually do that.
Right.
But I am wondering if there were a day where everybody I encountered drove well and was kind to one another, whether I would bother to attribute that to God, or I would just say, whoa, who got the jerks off the road today? Is school out? I don't know. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I wonder if we notice capital A, capital O, capital G acts of God, if they don't have thunder, if they don't have awfulness.
Yeah.
I do pray for Stephen Miller to be, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Stephen Miller to be removed from having any influence in the world at all.
Right.
Right?
Right.
If he got removed from having any influence in the world at all, first of all, I probably wouldn't notice right away. So the act of God could happen quite a period of time before I even noticed it. Mm-hmm. And then I might go, haven't heard anything from Stephen Miller lately. Wonder if God shut him up. Mm-hmm. Or would I just say, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I wonder if it would take, a camera catching Stephen Miller's losing his voice and his ability to write. You know what I mean? I don't know, whatever he does, right? But just, I wonder if it takes something like that for us to go, that's God.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because if that's what it is, I'm really nervous about praying for acts of God. Because God might say, you know what, Elane, you've been a good girl. I'm thinking an unusual earthquake in the Delaware, Virginia area. I don't know, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. In which case I'd be like, oh, no, I didn't actually mean that.
Right.
Phooey.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So thoughts about any of that? Feel free to insert your own person that you think is evil and behind everything.
I do think that we sometimes need for an act of God to kind of grab us by the shoulders and shake us a little bit, for us to notice it. You mentioned being attuned to the Spirit, and I believe that is something as maturing Christians that we should always strive to be.
Yes.
Attuned to the Spirit.
Yeah.
Because many times, she will make us aware of something that we wouldn't have ordinarily noticed or seen or even thought about.
Yep.
And I think it is a sign of spiritual maturity when you can experience something like having somebody off on the side, and that's happened to me before too. And you turn around and you help that person, and the only thing you could really attribute it to was, there was an angel on my shoulder, or whatever, however you want to paint that. I tend to think that it's just the Holy Spirit moving and pointing things out to us, and we're paying attention. And so she's acting all the time. Mm-hmm. She's not causing floods and fires and things like that.
Right.
But she is acting in big and small ways in people's lives changing hearts, changing minds. It's a big thing that she does. But it does require us to listen.
Yeah.
You know? But I think the big acts of God, capital A acts of God, they have to kind of be demonstrative for us to know that that's what that is. Otherwise, I think we are quick to attribute it to other things.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Not necessarily going to give God credit for something.
Right.
When we can explain it some other way.
Right. Which is about our dependence on ourselves, honestly.
Yeah.
Our tendency to want to explain things away, phrasing it that way deliberately, is about we want to feel like we're in control and that we understand things and all of that.
Yeah.
So maybe one way to locate acts of God is to notice things that we can't explain. Maybe that. And as we know from both experience and history, when God acts, it usually doesn't immediately cause a massive change. It usually is part of a series of things that bring about change.
Yeah.
And often, if you look at especially the early parts of the Bible, the so-called acts of God, using that language and describing it that way was the way that Israel explained the big, deep, huge sorrows and the big, huge victories.
Yeah.
The things that they couldn't account for by being their own power.
Right.
So maybe part of the ways to discover the acts of God are to notice the things that are beyond our abilities. And maybe could be explained. You have to kind of take nature out, right? Because nature is just amazing. But maybe there's something in that. Maybe it's about, if we're reading the news, looking for those things that are not quite so easily explained, and then resisting the desire to explain them, and resisting the desire to be cynical, and resisting the desire to attribute them to a massive conspiracy.
Yeah.
But instead say, I wonder if this thing that's hard to explain is a God thing. What do you think?
Yeah.
I actually kind of believe that the ballooning of costs of all of these ridiculous projects that the president is proposing, that those like sudden balloonings are part his lying about what things would cost, but partly God going, y'all, this is painting the bottom of a reflecting pool is just a stupid idea.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to make it cost a lot more.
And it's going to look terrible.
And it's going to look terrible. But like, I wonder if there's a way to do that. To go, I wonder if God had a hand in that.
Yeah.
I wonder if God had a hand in whoever it was who said that the ballroom actually couldn't be built that way. I wonder if God had a hand in that. Whichever your particular pet peeves are. Those are the one. For me, the so-called public works projects that are designed to both glorify the current occupant of the Oval Office and to suggest that he has no intention of going anywhere ever. I wonder if one place I could notice the hand of God, or at least attribute God, is when those things get foiled even for a minute.
That's a good point. And you mentioned cynicism, and I think that's something that a whole lot of us are really prone to right now.
Yeah.
So it's easy to just sort of like roll your eyes and huff when you read things in the news.
Right.
But it's like maybe we do need to be looking closer at what's actually going on here.
Yeah.
You know?
Because God works through judges and magistrates. I mean, that's half the Bible, right?
Yeah.
Is a judge or magistrate or somebody with some power saying, maybe not.
Yeah.
Or, let's do something really stupid and see how that turns out, right? And that's often God saying, hey, go do something stupid.
Yeah.
So everybody notices that you're not as good as you think you are.
Right.
Maybe if we were looking for those kinds of acts of God, the world would not be quite so spinny and out of control and cynical and dark and hopeless.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's try that.
I think so. Listeners, what do you think? CocktailTheology.com is where we are. We love hearing from you. Have you experienced an act of God?
Or witnessed one.
Or witnessed one.
Or attributed terrible things that happened to somebody you didn't like to God. In that case, we have therapists who can help you with that as well.
Yeah, please give us comments, give us questions, and ideas for cocktails, and episodes are always welcome.
Yes, indeed. Till next time.
Till next time.
Bye.
Funny how the view can change, how life just seems to rearrange itself, no matter what it was. I don't know how it goes, but look, moving on feels pretty good. Moving on feels pretty good.
If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a like and hit subscribe wherever you're listening right now. We welcome your comments, questions, and ideas for conversations and for cocktails. Please get in touch with us at our website, cocktailtheology.com. Cocktail Theology is a production of SFS. Our theme song is Moving On Feels Pretty Good, recorded by yours truly, Benton Stokes. You can find my music wherever you stream your favorite artists. Join us next Thursday for another new episode.